Most anglers are making at least one of these mistakes, and I'll bet that you've made some of them yourself. Mistake: noise. Bass are keen to their surroundings, especially in shallow water, even more so when it's calm.
So what do I mean by noise? Well, if you're on the bank, if you stomp up to it like a dinosaur, every bass within casting distance already knows you're there. Or if you're with a friend who's fishing far enough from you where you have to be like, "Yo, you catch anything?" That's not good.
And here's a big one. If you're out on the pond on an aluminum boat, those things can make a lot of noise if you're not careful with your movements. The fix: just doing simple things like walking up to the bank lightly and being as stealthy as possible and being aware of your own actions and the noise that it's creating can make a huge difference in your day.
Mistake. The Kerplunk.
This is when you know you're not in the best position to make a cast toward your target, but you do it anyways because you know that you're in range. So you bomb your lure out there and kerplunk. And if your cast lands like a bowling ball right on top of your target, the bass are not going to be sticking around. The fix: so all you have to do is get yourself into proper position so you can pitch your bait to your target to not spook the fish, or you can cast beyond your target, make the splash out somewhere else, and then bring your bait to it.
Mistake.
So the bass sure seem interested in that spinnerbait and that chatterbait that you're throwing, but they don't seem all that committed. Maybe they're just hitting the blades the whole time, but you just keep on throwing that spinnerbait. The fix: so just change your bait. If you're getting hits like that, like non-committal on a spinnerbait and a chatterbait, try the next thing that looks similar, like a swim jig. Sometimes that's all it takes to go from those missed hits to landed fish.
Mistake.
Not changing your retrieve. Unless it's the literal way to retrieve a certain lure, never just throw it out there and reel it back in. The fix: so what I'm about to say, in my opinion, is one of the most important pieces of advice that you can get as a bass fisherman. What I want you to do is on every single cast that you make is visualize in your head that a bass is hunting your bait down, which means it could just be following it. So with that in mind, make your bait do different things during your retrieve. Pause it for a second, burn it for a second, pop your rod tip. All of this stuff makes the bait do something different to make that fish make a decision on what to do with that potential meal.
Mistake.
Not listening to the bass. You've been struggling all day, and then you realize that the 3 bass that you caught was when you stopped reeling to check your phone, when you had a backlash, or when you had like 15 feet left of lino and you were done with your cast and you just burned it in to get ready for another cast. The fix: those 3 bass told you what the bite of the day was. A burn and pause. Try to remember what you were doing with your bait every time you get bit.
Mistake.
Not downsizing your bait when necessary. There's times when the bass are keyed in on smaller forage and it becomes evident by the feedback you received while fishing. I've been there many times with a frog bite where I'm getting bit over and over and over on my normal sized frog, and every time I set the hook, it's just airmailed back to my face because they're not really committed to it. The fix: so tie on a smaller frog or a smaller whatever you were using. And if you happen to see bait fish while you're fishing and it's much smaller than the stuff that you're throwing, then it's time to downsize.
Mistake. I need all these colors.
The fix: just keep your color selection simple. Focus on the body of water that you're fishing and the forage that's in it. It's hard to go wrong with bluegill colors, yellow perch colors, or some type of a minnow.
Mistake.
Using the wrong rod for the bait that you're using. I was guilty of this in the beginning of my baitcaster days when I was throwing crankbaits and I didn't fully understand that treble hooks needed a more parabolic rod. When you use too stiff of a rod with a crankbait, when the bass jumps or even just shakes its head during the fight, there's a constant like a load and an unload of the rod snapping back and forth, which is going to create like this little temporary slack which can allow the hooks to work their way out. With the parabolic, more bendy tip of a rod, it just stays loaded up the whole time to keep the pressure on the hooks, and your land ratio just goes through the roof.
If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.